Hi guys, Nadeja here. Welcome to my channel, Living Aligned. If it's your first time visiting, thank you for stopping by. I hope that you like the content, subscribe, and comment down below if you do. If you are returning, welcome back. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel and revisiting to watch my videos. I do appreciate you guys. I wanted to just touch bases really quick on the topic of certain things that some religious people, I used to be one of them. I was the worst you ever wanted to know. I promise you. I ran friends off, burned bridges with family members and co-workers. I didn't care. I thought I was being holier than thou and proclaiming the gospel for God while I was really just being judgmental, critical, and a pain in the ass. That was me. I was the absolute worst. Later on, years later, I had to kind of, let me just tell you, I was raised Christian. I was raised in the church. I used to go to church with my mom used to send us when we were all younger, the church van from East Orange. I forgot what the name of it was, but it was like this super packed church in East Orange. We used to go with a neighbor up the street, and the van would come and pick us up, and it would be me, my sister, and my two brothers, and we would all go to this church, and I hated it because we used to sit in there all day. I think it was a Pentecostal church. All I remember is them passing around one cup and people wiping it off with their shirt, because everyone literally drank from it. That's how long ago it was. They didn't think about germs. They thought that they didn't think about what went back in the cup. They simply wiped off. It was so gross. I was too young because it was literally wine. They didn't have grape juice. They had wine. So anyway, that was how I grew up. Then as I got older from that church, I remember my mom, I was getting dressed. She was getting me dressed for church. And she never went. That was the weirdest thing. My mom never ever went to church with us. She sent us. And I was like, that's not fair. I was like, oh, I hate church. My mom smacked me right in the mouth. Smacked me right in the mouth. She said, don't you ever say that. And as my face was stinging and I was recovering from that smack, I was like, what? I hate it. I really just felt like I was being honest, but I guess in her eyes, it was like me saying I hated God, which I didn't. I just hated going there all day and sitting there all day. It was literally like 3-4 hours. And I just remember they had a huge, beautiful bathroom where you can change your clothes. And it was like red carpet, had big mirrors and a lot of bathrooms for all the ladies. But I didn't understand it. I didn't like it. I hated going. So fast forward to me being in grade school and high school, the beginning years of high school. I went to Union Baptist Church in Montclair, New Jersey, with my father only. My older brother and sister and my older two brothers and sister were out of the house, grown. And I was like, dang, I'm stuck. I got to go to church with Dad. So we went to church, and I was on the junior usher board. I was on the junior choir. We went to Bible study on Wednesdays. We were at church every Sunday. They used to do Mother's Day breakfasts, and I loved it because the food was good. Those people could cook. They used to do Father's Day breakfasts. I loved it. Those people could cook. And I was so heavily involved in church. And then I just remember that as I got older, I started to just really feel like something was missing. I started to really feel like there was so much more that I didn't know. I remember one Wednesday or one Sunday, the pastor, his name was W. Temple Ritchie. Pastor Ritchie had announced that he was going to be talking about blackness in the Bible and Bible study. I was so excited. I could not wait. I was one of the first people there at the class. Don't you know, this man sat up there and said, yeah, the word Cush means black. The word Kadar means black. And that was it. He didn't give any in-depth information on the people. He just talked about how the words, it was almost like he was scared to talk about what really was going on in the Bible. He just didn't do it. Then as I got older, graduated high school, my senior year in high school, I met a gentleman in Edison, New Jersey named Dawiyad. He was a Hebrew Israelite, and over the next 6 months to a year, I commenced to learning over the phone with him. He was a true brother who only wanted to teach me the word. He had a wife and kids, and he was straightforward with me. He taught me about books in the Bible that I had never seen before. In all my years of church, I never knew about Obadiah. I never knew about Nahum. I never knew about those smaller books in the middle that like rarely get touched, that my church rarely touched anyway. I don't know about y'all's. But the bottom line is I became a Hebrew Israelite. Learned all about the book, the Sunday Law, where I learned that they changed, that the Roman Catholic Church changed the Sabbath to Sunday. They changed the Sabbath from Saturday, which is the seventh day of the week, as the Ten Commandments say, Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 thou shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh is a Sabbath in that thou shalt not do any work. Not your manservants, not your maidservants, not your ox, not your ass, not your cattle, not your stranger that is within your gates. For in 7 days the Lord made heaven and earth and all that in them is. Therefore thou shalt rest. And I'm going off of my memory because we used to say that every Sabbath when I used to keep the Sabbath. I was in the Hebrew Israelite hardcore church, hardcore Hebrew Israelites, the ones that stand on the corner downtown Newark. 12 William Street was where Brother Bakwash and Zaquan Malak and Matathiwa and Labra'im and what was his name? Samak. Those were the 4 brothers that were over that church. Now, first it was, what was his name? There were 2 brothers that were younger that were heading it up before that, but something happened where the older brothers from New York needed to come in. So the older brothers came in, and I just remember the day that everything changed. It was the Sabbath. I just saw a whole bunch of strange faces, and I was just like, okay, when are we going to learn? I lived there. When I tell you that I was seeking God, when I was seeking his face, when I just wanted the truth, and I knew that there was something so much more spiritual than what I had been taught in Sunday's church. I've been baptized 3 times. I got baptized in Rockaway, New York. I got baptized in Mississippi when I rededicated myself, and then I got baptized at the Union Baptist Church in Montclair. I've been baptized 3 different times. So I was told that every time you reach a new level to your journey, you can get baptized, and I literally did. I was always just wanting to be clean and upright and walk right in him and do the right thing and seek his face and know truth and walk in the light and please him. That's all I ever wanted to do. So once I, kind of moved away from that form of Hebrew Israelite, we kind of went more into a Christian form of Hebrew Israelite where it was just the church Hebrews. They say only Israel can be saved. Now, meanwhile, they tell you that you don't know who your father is as one of the curses, but they swear that they are Israel because they can just tell, but they have no way to verify that. So a lot of people that are brown skinned, that are of color, of all walks of life can say, I'm a Hebrew Israelite. And they say your spirit bears witness. So there's just a lot of gray area with that. However, I got to wrap this up because I don't want this to be a 20-minute video. But fast forward, I was at the 12 William Street, and then they had a split. When they had said that in Corinthians where everyone could be saved, the brothers that believed that, I went with them, and they moved to Irvington. What's that main street that goes from, I think it's Central Ave in Irvington. It goes from Newark, and if you follow it straight up, the bus goes up that way. And it was a white building on the corner, and it had 2 roads that went around it. I don't remember the name of it, but we were there for a little while. Then some things happened, and I actually had to leave that church, that assembly as well. I stopped practicing. I never stopped the dietary law. Even to this moment, I don't eat pork, shrimp, crab, or lobster. I don't eat anything out the ocean without fins and scales. And I still keep the Sabbath. Passover, I do observe it. I take off work for all high holy days, and I still do that. However, I'm not like 613 laws. I wear whatever I want to wear in terms of, in the laws it talks about the fabric, how you're only supposed to wear 100% fabrics, not supposed to mix fabrics. I don't do all that, y'all. It's too much. I cannot live like that. It's too much. I just do those basics that I just mentioned, and that's about it. So fast forward, I kept those laws on my own. I wasn't a part of anything for a long time. I got married. I moved to Georgia. My ex-husband was not a believer at all. He went to Creflo Dollar's church, so he was like a Christian, but not even really, because he kind of went for show, because it's like, hey, look at me. Everybody knew that when you said Pastor Creflo Dollar, World Changers, they just kind of knew, oh, okay, you go to a church, so, oh, you're with him. And it's almost like people like to associate someone of success in a large church, a mega church, and say, well, I go there, almost like, well, I'm successful too. That's the vibe I got from my ex-husband. But it doesn't matter. We went there like twice, and I was like, I hate this church, because I had actually, before I got married to him, I actually was going to Living Water Christian Center Church in East Orange, and I loved it. Pastor Theodore and Linda Faison, they were like family to me, and I could call them and text them, and when I needed help and when I was going through things, they were there for me. That whole church was a family to me, and I loved that. So to go from that to a mega church where you had to make an appointment to see one of the pastor's aides to get some help. I was like, this sucks. I don't like this. So we went there like twice. He wasn't really about that life anyway. But anyway, after that, I reconnected with some different type of Hebrews. And they pretty much called themselves the believers. They classified themselves as Hebrew Israelites, but they didn't have that same bad connotation to them. So when wrapping this up, we learned about the Holy Spirit. We learned about speaking in tongues. We learned about it. They were stronger on Jesus than anything. And previously, they talked about the Messiah coming back with the camp Hebrews, but it was never as strong as these people. These people were like Pentecostal church people, but knowing the law. So it was just like really, really strong. Holiness was really big and all that good stuff. I never really flexed quite that far. I liked the worship, but I don't know. I never spoke in tongues. I'll put it that way. I faked it. I said I did. I never spoke in tongues. Forgive me, Father. I never spoke in tongues. I just had pressure to do it. All I know is that I love him. I love him and I want to walk in him. These days, right now, pretty much, I still keep the dietary law. I still pray. I'm not really a part of any assembly at the moment. We were going to assembly online. They're out of Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi. But I don't attend that anymore. I'm at the point now where I feel like I'm embarking upon a new level of faith. And I really, it's kind of more spirituality and less rigidity to religious rules and don't do. It's different from me now. I'm learning how to be free and have a relationship with God as opposed to listening to someone tell me what I should and shouldn't be doing. I just feel like that's the best way. He designed us to be free. I don't believe he designed us to be in a box. And I just don't. And that's my take on it. That's where I'm at right now. And I say all that to say that I used to also feel, and I'm going to be done in like 2 minutes, so please bear with me. Sorry, this is a long video. But I said all that to say that I used to look down on people who went in bars, people who cursed, and now I'm like one of the biggest people who uses profanity, but I'm working on myself. And I haven't really cursed on these videos, but I can be really bad at times depending on what's going on, but I'm working on that. So talking about stuff like profanity, curse words, cursing, things like crystals and sage, and, God made those things, guys. I'm so tired of people, and I think I'm actually going to do a second video on this, but I'm going to talk about that later. But guys, tell me about your journey. Tell me about where you stand with God, if you want to. Some people might not want to talk about that. There's no judgment here, guys. I've been through all the spectrum of believing, not believing, doing, not doing. I've been through the spectrum. I'm not here to judge anybody. I just want to know you guys' take on it. What do you guys think about church and religion and all that? How does that sit with you? Does it sit with you? Have you guys had bad experiences? I know a lot of holier than thou Christians would definitely have a lot to say because everyone wants to damn you to hell when you don't walk their walk, and I don't give a damn. I do not. I've been so under people's thumb and a people pleaser to do what other people thought was right to do and following the crowd so long that there's nothing anyone can ever say to me that would make me be afraid and have to follow under their rule or their opinion. I'm walking my own walk. I pray that everyone else is finding their way as well, because at the end of the day, we can only answer for and do for ourselves. So I'm going to end this video now, but thank you guys so much. I'm going to do like a second part to this where I talk about sage and crystals and the zodiacs and the stars and all that stuff that most people shun that God created. Is so weird. God created it all, but because man has tainted it, we want to get on people who actually can work through the taint and find ways to beneficially use God's tools or creations as part of their spiritual walk. But I thank you guys and have a good day.